unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego Unpacked. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live.
Scandal, controversy, mayhem. Devin Haney gets kind of dissed by Brian Norman when it comes to the ranking and rating system. Brian Norman spills the beans in a brand new interview. I'm going to let you know everything that's going on in this video. It is time for your boy Ego to get unpacked. We unpacked. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, Brian Norman and Devin Haney is starting to heat up. Before, I didn't really hear too much. It was like they both were in camp. I wasn't really hearing too much. But now it's getting a little bit chippy. It's getting a little bit chippy as we get close to the fight. And I'm looking forward to the fight. The trash talk don't bother me none. But now Brian Norman Sr., the dad, father, trainer of Brian Norman, he jumped in with something to say in a brand new interview with Mill City Boxing. And it lets you know what he feels about Devin Haney. And you can't really spin this into something positive. So let me get into the quote, and then I'll give you guys my thoughts. In this brand new interview, he says, quote, "When it comes to skill, he's got nothing on Brian Norman Jr." So Brian Norman's dad, the pops, is saying his son got more skill overall than Devin Haney. Now, some people would disagree just off rip, but it gets better. But wait, there's more. It gets better. Then he goes on to say, we're going to show y'all November 22nd. I don't see him, Devin, as a bigger threat than Giovanni Santillan. The reptilian Santillan. He also goes on to say, I don't even see Devin as a bigger threat than Derek Cuevas. And I don't see him as a bigger threat than Jin Sasaki. Have you ever seen Devin Haney fight a full-fledged welterweight? He asks. What fighter have you seen Haney fight that had the same length as him? That was Jose Ramirez and maybe Ryan Garcia. Were you impressed with the performance? Wow. The truth always comes out. That's it. I'm sold. Take my money. I've been wanting to see the fight. Now that they're doing a little bit of trash talking, it's making me want to see it even more. Now, there are aspects of what he just said that I agree with. I know the Haneyacks are going to get mad, but I got to be truthful. On you in my domain, so I'm going to keep it real. And for one, when he's posing these questions, have you seen Devin fight a full-fledged welterweight? No, because even Jose Ramirez, he was a career 140-pounder. I don't care how big you thought he was or whatever. If he was so big, he should have been take his big to 147, but he didn't. In addition, that fight was held and contested and campaigned at a catchweight, 144. Right? So you didn't fight a welterweight unless you guys can name it, because Devin was crunching down with the snack program, the snack pack, right, to 135. And then he campaigned there for probably the longest. The 140 was a brief conversation. Moved up, looked great in his first fight with Regis Prograis. I was at the fight. And then we all know what happened next on that 420 with Ryan Garcia smoking that 420 Devin pack, right? So you got two in at 140, and it was a mixed bag. You look real good, then you didn't look real good. Then the next fight was the Fatal Fury outside junk, where you fought, again, as I just mentioned, Jose Ramirez, a career 140 pounder. And let's just be real. Jose Ramirez has seen better days. I'm tired of this in boxing where I feel like I'm the only one that keep it real anymore. Like, Canelo has seen better days. Ramirez has seen better days. Like, I'm not giving those victories the credit you want me to give them. Like, I give you some props. You still fought a man, beat a man, you know what I mean? But I can't give it the full-fledged, unadulterated, you just beat a prime Julio Cesar Chavez. You just beat a prime Sugar Ray Leonard. You beat a prime Roberto Duran, Pacquiao, Floyd. I'm not giving you that. See, I rely heavily on context. So everything in life has to be placed in like context. Like, it got to make sense, right? And the reality is, some fights like Crawford fighting Canelo, like Devin fighting Ramirez, you fought when you fought, but you got the guys kind of not in a prime position. And you know what's so funny? I'm keeping it all the way real. Real boxing fans respect me. Real boxer fans understand and respect what I'm saying and know I'm keeping it real. But the funny thing is this. Me saying it is going to ruffle some feathers, right? And they're going to be like, oh, you're hating, and all the Bud Buddies, the Haniacs, whatever. But the funny thing is, you have some of these same individuals and people throughout boxing, they would try to make it look like Floyd was fighting guys that were past it. That's literally a narrative to denigrate Floyd Mayweather's wins and justify why he beat this guy or that guy, right? So they couldn't really do it with Canelo because he was only 23. So they did the opposite. Instead of saying he was washed up, they said he was too young. So Canelo is too young when Floyd beats him. And then guys like Cotto, they said he was washed up. He was coming off of beating the guy that cheated him, Antonio Margarito, in the rematch. So how is he washed up? Right? Not to mention, Cotto later on fought Canelo Alvarez, later on knocked out Sergio Martinez after he had already fought Floyd. So if he was so washed up, how did he continue fighting and fight at a heavier weight class after the Floyd fight and still have some memorable nights or competitive fights? So again, when I'm telling you somebody was shop worn, they really were. But old media and the haters, they gonna say it, but then it don't even make sense. They say, oh, Floyd beat a old De La Hoya. He was washed up. But then Pacquiao knocked out De La Hoya after Floyd. I believe Oscar, he showed me to, right? Floyd beat the after version of, rest in peace, Ricky Hatton, the after version of Oscar De La Hoya, right? And now Pacquiao gets full credit for those victories, even though he fought him after Floyd, right? But then people try this, oh, Floyd fought washed up versions of this fighter or that fighter. So it is what it is. Believe whoever you want. I'm the king of boxing talk. I'm what counts in these streets. The best in the business, and it's not even close. I don't lie. I don't have a reason to lie. I came in the game telling the truth, and by God, that's what we're going to keep doing. Jose Ramirez has seen better days, right? Lost to Josh Taylor. Didn't look good versus Rances Bartholomew. We'll see what Frank Martin does in his first fight at 140, right, with the same opponent. So it is what it is. To me, what I'm saying is very clear if you know boxing. So I agree with Brian Norman saying, have you ever seen Devin fight a full-fledged welterweight? We haven't. You seen him fight at a catchweight, and again against somebody who is a bit, just past it. Like, it had been a long time since the Maurice Hooker type of performance from Ramirez. So that I do agree with. And he does bring up a good point, a great point even. You look at the two fights where he fought somebody that was his size, so to speak, because we know the little snack Victor Conte got you ballooning up and then losing the weight for the weigh-in and balloon up after. We know, the supplements or whatever, oxygen chambers or whatever they doing so you can fluctuate your weight like this, right? We get it. But if you, from a boxing perspective, what Brian Norman Sr. is saying, it make a lot of sense. Again, the two fights that you can honestly say somebody was equivalent in size to Devin Haney or bigger, look at how they played out, right? One, the Ramirez, the most recent, boxing is a what have you done for me lately type of sport. So you're only as good as your last performance. So your most recent performance was, again, Ramirez. And as I said throughout this video, it left more to be desired, right? It definitely left more to be desired. You fought timid. You appeared unsure of yourself and like uneasy throughout the fight. Like you were hesitant. But again, look at the matchup. This guy was at least about your size with some power, right? So that's very close. Versus if you look at Devin's weigh-ins, Devin, and I'm not excluding the two people that Brian Norman and Boxing Ego are mentioning, excluding Ramirez and excluding Ryan Garcia, who we're openly admitting were about Devin's size, right? Everybody else, Devin himself was like, you too little, you too small. I thought you were bigger. I thought he even said it to Brian Norman for whatever reason. I don't know if that's his tagline or something now. So Devin said it to a lot of guys like, hey, man, I thought you were bigger. Oh, you too little. You too little for me. Blah, 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 blah. Right? He said it to Lomachenko. Fact. Said it to Kambosos. Fact. Right? Lomachenko even said, like, who is this guy? He's lightweight or welterweight? Like, because Devin looks so big. No, he said lightweight or is he a heavyweight? That's what he said. Is he a heavyweight? How he lightweight? He looked big, right? That's the reality of it. So, again, the two guys that looked about your size, one of them was Ramirez. The other was Ryan Garcia. But here's the thing. Ramirez is older than you, and Ryan wasn't. So, when we're talking about the whole size issue, Devin, the only time he fought someone about his age and about his size, right? He had the fight with Ryan. Even the Ramirez one was like, you was fighting like 30-year-old dudes. Regis Prograis was smaller somehow than you, right? Regis Prograis, that's a fact. He was smaller than you, even though you moved up to his weight class. Regis Prograis was like 35 when you fought him, right? Everything I'm saying is true, y'all. You can look it up. I'll wait, right? So, yeah, that's a strong point from Brian Norman. Because Brian Norman is younger than Devin, in shape, and we know he got power, and he not effing around like acting weird like Ryan Garcia was doing. You know what I mean? Doing all that locked in hotel rooms, looking like you've been drinking. You were drinking in the club on fight week, singing Keisha Cole. We know he ain't doing all that. So for me, it is interesting because I just think it's a tough fight. I've been said that. I think it's a tough fight. And if you look at the dynamics of the fight, that element of it is true. When Devin actually couldn't bully somebody with weight, the fight was either you look shaky performance-wise or you got like tossed around and dropped a bunch of times by Ryan Garcia. Now, again, in these videos, we have to note that Ryan did later pop dirty, but I've already told you, cheating is bad. No. Get whatever suspension or punishment you get for that. I'm with all that. However, what Ryan popped for is not an anabolic. What Ryan popped for, Ostarine, to me, is not a fix-all, end-all, be-all, where it's going to give you X-Men mutant super power to like walk through anything, take any type of shot. Like it's not even that type of, it's not that type of drug, yo. Where it doesn't make you an inhumanoid. It just doesn't. It doesn't at all. So for me, Devin lost that particular fight, and he didn't look that great. You know, he didn't really look that great in that fight. So, yeah, he will get props if he can beat Brian Norman because, again, Brian Norman, what he lacks in experience, he does bring in terms of power. I think he could surprise people with boxing better than people because we haven't seen him have to box too much, right? So that part is unknown from Brian Norman. So I'm looking forward to a really good fight. And it was interesting to hear Brian Norman's side, his dad, state that they look at Devin as kind of a lesser threat, a lesser of the few evils, as opposed to Santillan, Cuevas, and Jin Sasaki. And, you know, surprisingly enough, as I'm thinking about it doing this video, I also agree with that. Here's why. Styles make fights. It's not that Devin has no shot to win. That's not it at all. I don't believe that. However, when you look at it, people see what I do very well that a lot of people struggle with in the world of boxing is I'm in control of my emotions. I think that's important as a man to be in control of your emotions. People will hear me say stuff, and the moment it leaves my lips and is out there in the atmosphere as a content creator, boom, mind made up. Oh, this guy's full of it. He's stupid. Oh, man, this don't make sense. How it don't make sense, I haven't even broken it down. So people like that I've been doing this long enough. I do not care about people like that because you already had your mind made up. And if somebody says something, even if it seems a bit bizarre and they're willing to expand on it, and you already say it don't make sense. So of course it's not going to make sense. Nothing will make sense if you don't allow it to. You know what I mean? Like if you think that pepperoni pizza is nasty, nothing I can tell you is going to change your mind if you refuse to hear somebody out or hear another stance. Now, I will break it down because we unpacked. If you like this video and videos like this, not a bunch of like quick 4-minute videos to just throw something out there. I'm giving you real content, real breakdowns, real thoughts as it pertains to boxing. And if you like that in the boxing world, you know what to do. Subscribe. But here's why I'm saying that is because most of those other fights took place in enemy territory. See, I know my boxing. Y'all can't play me. I know my boxing. Jin Sasaki, he had to travel to Japan. The Santillan fight, he had to fight Santillan in his backyard of San Diego. So at least two of the three fights, he was in enemy territory. This fight is nobody. I mean, Devin is Muslim and it's an Islamic Muslim country, but it's not Devin's like country per se, right? So it's foreign land in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, for really both fighters. Like Devin don't have to my knowledge, you don't have a crib in Saudi Arabia or something. You know what I mean? Or he's not from Saudi Arabia initially. So he don't have to worry about the enemy territory. But beyond that, styles make fights. And out of those three names, I think Devin is the weakest power. I'm talking about pure power, not weakest fighter. I'm talking about just in terms of the ability to hurt you and knock you out, right? Devin has not had a knockout since 2019. So if he can move up to welterweight and carries power, and if he can knock out or hurt Brian Norman, that would be impressive, because in the lighter divisions, he ain't really been knocking guys out. He hasn't even really been knocking guys down. Didn't knock down Ryan. Didn't knock down Ramirez. Didn't knock down Lomachenko. If anything, Loma hurt him in the back half of that fight, right? So Devin, he ain't really had no knockouts since 2019. So I can understand the train of thought from Brian Norman. We fought all these guys in enemy territory. Some of those fights, like Santillan, we were the underdogs. And you had a Japanese crowd against you with Sasaki. All those guys can like bang and punch at the very least, even if Devin is more skilled than them, and that's what you believe, they can at least punch, right? So for me, I agree with that if that is the stance you're looking at it, because Devin's, to me, his true path to victory is to try to outbox Brian Norman. But it's still dangerous, because anytime you have someone who can't really punch, like Devin Haney at least has shown to this point of his career, unless he miraculously, magically comes up with a bunch more power, and he's sitting on his punches. Because here's the thing. His last fight, he had Shane Mosley in camp. And Shane Mosley was like, I taught him how to punch. I told him how to sit down on his punch. So I'm like, all right, cool, bet. And I was expecting like a new forceful, big punching Devin with improved technique. And he seemed gun shy to let his hands go. So that was literally kind of the opposite of what Shane Mosley, who was in his camp, had preached in the interviews. He made it sound like Devin was punching harder than ever, and they worked on it on camp. But that Devin looked stronger versus Regis Prograis. So you working backwards at that point, you know what I mean? If you look stronger a couple fights ago than your recent fights. So Devin will have to show the world newfound power, because he ain't really been. He knocked down Regis Prograis. Regis Prograis again looks smaller, and he looked like two left feet in a lot of his recent fights. Like, his balance looked bad as is, and he was coming off a fight with Zorilla where he got knocked down. So, I mean, that's cool. A knockdown's still a knockdown, but for me, that's not as like impressive as like, just knocking someone down that got better balance or in prime or your age, blah, blah, blah. Again, like I said earlier, context matters, at least on this channel. So I could understand not looking at Devin as a bigger threat than them other guys, because Devin is arguably the least powerful out of those other guys. Where Brian Norman, if he comes in shape with a good strategy and the right game plan, then it's going to be imposing. And Devin, I feel like, almost would have to box well and be on his bike. He needs the distance. He needs to get that jab off and that kind of thing. This is a super dangerous fight, and I can't wait for the outcome to it. But Devin Haney's power, just like Shakur, this is where I've already said this from the beginning. These guys are not Floyd Mayweather. I don't care what they say or other people. Oh, Shakur's the new Mayweather. Devin's the new Mayweather. I don't care about none of what y'all talking about. I'm telling you, from my opinion, they not Floyd. They don't like Floyd would never fight a William Zepeda level guy and get punched into the ropes and like lose your balance or get hurt or whatever that was, like Shakur. He not losing with a Ryan Garcia. It's just not. He not losing. So these guys have, young guys, let them be young and let them pave their own way. But let's stop the comparisons, because the comparisons be capped. Oh, these guys are like Floyd. Again, Floyd, what version of Floyd could these guys even be? Money Mayweather was scientific and he wasn't getting touched with nothing silly. He was fighting Guerreros and Maidanas and Canelo. If those guys got shots on them, they were just really good really good shots, intelligently set up shots, period. So what version, and I know we're not talking about Pretty Boy Floyd, so it's like these guys, like Floyd, there's no picture of him that look like this. Like, there's none. There's zero pictures of Floyd that look, unless he's doing sit-ups, unless he's doing crunches. There's no picture you can find on the internet unless he's on 24/7 doing sit-ups that look like Devin right here. Point blank, period. So if you know, let these guys be great in their own way, or, earn their own path. I'm with that. But these guys aren't Floyd. So I'm not giving them props for things Floyd did because they try to act like him in certain ways. Now, speaking of Floyd, as much as some people try to make him sound scary, like he was a scary fighter and he ran and runner and all that type of stuff, it shows me you have no actual concept of how Floyd actually fought, because he didn't fight scary. He fought big punchers, Canelo, Maidanas, Pacquiao, and you never seen him going away and timid and looking unsure of himself, not confident. But I have seen Devin fight where he didn't look so certain. Ryan Garcia fight, right? Ramirez fight. I have seen Shakur Nakathila fight, Edwin De Los Santos. So these guys aren't Floyd, because Floyd has never at any stage of his career looked like he lacked confidence in himself, even with a big puncher. But how some of these other fighters, young fighters, have responded to being punched hard by someone equal in size is very telling. Now, if you're a puncher that's mad smaller and like no skill, that might be a different case. But I'm talking about like the formidable punchers with good size, good ability. They've had trouble, and these guys got less fights than Floyd. So, we'll see. Brian Norman, there's pressure that he has too. If he want to keep his belt, he better win this fight. And here's the thing: Brian Norman is a trainer. He's saying this, but they better not be training in this way. Like, you don't look past someone or underestimate. Like, even though you don't think Devin can hurt you, you don't go into combat with that mentality. Like, let's not plan for Devin being able to hurt us. That's foolish. Does that make sense? Like, you better pretend you're in there with Ernie Shavers, Deontay Wilder, Gervonta Davis, Beterbiev. That is the right approach. Like, you don't go in, even though Devin, I just told you throughout this video, he ain't been like cracking nobody and knocking nobody out. He ain't had a knockout since 2019. But you still don't want to go in there like playing with fate and like trying to chump somebody. So even though Brian Norman is saying this stuff, I hope they're not training and game planning and underestimating anybody, including Devin, because I don't believe in underestimating your opponent. Like, because that's when you will be in trouble. Because if you don't think a guy can hurt you and then he hurts you, then what? You don't have no plan for it because you didn't think it could even happen. It reminds me, not in boxing, but in the UFC, you had Usman who fought Jorge Masvidal. And Masvidal had already fought him. And he said he hit like a princess. Like, he don't really hit hard. That's what he said. So he was like, this dude can't hurt me. So he might have had his hands down or whatever the case was. But all I know is Usman landed something crazy upstairs and he got knocked out. That is what happens or what could happen, here it is right here. Look at him stretched. This is what happens or could happen if you just underestimate an opponent and you like, they can't hurt me. They can't hurt me. They ain't got no power. You know what I mean? Because that's when fighters are defiant by nature. That's when they do surprise. See, look, out. You're like, Usman can't hit. So even though I've said it might sound contradictory to some, but it's not. And I can explain. Even though I don't think Devin is a big puncher from what I've seen throughout his career, you don't approach it with that in mind. You approach it like you fighting the Incredible Hulk, Thanos. Do you understand? So what I'm saying is more of a mentality. Like, you don't go into it with low expectations. This ain't a movie. You know what I mean? So don't go into it with super low expectations. He can't do nothing with me. He can't embarrass me. He can't hurt me. He can't what. Because then if it were to happen, that's going to be a complete mind uck. Complete and total mind uck. Because it'll be shocking to you. Like, dang, I thought he hit soft. And now he found a way to connect something to rock me. Or his jab hurt me. So many fighters have got like that. But good fight. Devin looks in shape. Brian Norman looks in shape. We gonna see. For more boxing breakdowns, boxing news 24/7. I got y'all. We unpacked. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new, but even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate, so ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast.